Have any of you seen a toad? A boy named Neville's lost one. No. You've got a bit of dirt here. Did you know? Alright. I haven't started coming up. You guys, I'm such a nerd, okay? If any of you guys can follow, if you guys can find the TikTok page, I won't be that impressed because I don't think it's that hard, but I started making like one She brought his pale face to her lap, brushing the dark hair from his face. "It's going to be okay," she told him, but it was a lie. Whoever was bitten by the snake only had 10 days to live. Within moments, his body would fall into a deep coma, and his body would slowly begin to die. A crowd was gathering now, and Willow looked up at the guards through her tears. "You have to do something, please. We can't let him die." She begged and pleaded with them, urging them to do anything but sit there and watch. Jesus, this is some of my stories, so I'm sharing them because there's not too many people here. Hi Noah! Thank you for the money gun. I heard you had an amazing live tonight and got some fat lions. Congratulations, bestie. I love that. Thank you for the money gun. Oh no. Hold on, I have to refresh the live. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that sounds awesome, Noah. Okay, where did my little fairy thing go? Because I was wondering this about the other one too. I thought I wrote more, but I think it's because I never ended up making like the slideshow for the other ones yet. Oh, here we go, my little TikTok stories. I know, I think we can work with that. We're gonna finish, I wanna, okay. So, Echo the Earth Fairy, this is what. So we only have a little bit more, but it was like the sound of crunching trees spun her backwards, and the last thing she saw was a giant black dragon descending upon her, and the glowing blue eyes of its rider. Echo's eyes peeled open in the darkness. A window in the distance casted dim moonlight on the stone floor below her. The floor was cold, and she could hear a faint sound of water dropping. It must be why the floor was so wet. The dampness had seeped into her clothing, chilling her to the bone. She was in a cell of some sort. Echo pushed off the floor to her knees before the chains attached to her wrists halted her. She tugged on them. Gus, she called out in fear. Where was he? Who had captured them? She yanked on the chains again, calling out for her dragon's name with more urgency. A door opened. Candlelight filled the cell, and the dark outline of a man stepped forward. Echo struggled against the chains, but they would not allow her to stand. That's all Obviously, because she didn't know why she did it. Perhaps she was mad at Bash. Or perhaps because she was curious about something someone knew. Someone who lived beyond this ashy volcanic land. Either way, Ember needed to find a solution to the problem she had created. What was she going to do with him? What is she gonna do with him? Do we know? No. Slay. I'm like reading it over, I'm like, even though these are silly, they're kind of slaying in like a slay way. Alright, let's see if we can do the water berry. I feel like I really want to pick these up again because I started writing them on TikTok, like, and I really want to like do this again because I want to like put them together eventually because they're all broken up into parts on TikTok, and then I want to like use all the little parts and then make like actual novels out of them. Alright guys, let's do Lily the Water Fairy. Okay. Yeah, we love a good forbidden love. That's like... Alright. It's up to you, Lily. That is what her mother told her before she left. Of course, she would rather send her daughter to death than deal with the potential consequences. After all, the pearl had been Lily's responsibility. She had to return it before the others began to notice. The Prince of Fire had sent his fairies to steal it. It was the only explanation for the ashes left behind. But how did he do it? Fire fairies cannot enter the forest without destroying it, right? It was still dark out. Her thick hooded cloak kept her violet iridescent wings tucked into her back. Perhaps Lily could make it back before morning, though she knew the task was nearly impossible. Not to mention a death wish. The fire fairies lived on a small island near the coast of her home, Nova Falls. The iconic forest was only a short fly away, but Lily would need a boat in order to cause less suspicion. Her axolotl river squeaked from her shoulder. Shh, she hushed. They could not be seen by the two dark figures appeared before her, going somewhere. Damn it. It was the false guards, the exact people she'd been trying to avoid. If she couldn't manage to hide from them, how did she expect to sneak into the volcanic forest? Lily stiffened, keeping her head down. I'm going for a walk. One of the figures stepped closer to her, his chest nearly touching hers as he ripped off her hood. Now that she could see, she recognized the two men standing before her. Their crow companions squawked in delight. The man who had removed her hood was named Cove. His black-haired twin, Kai, stood behind him. What would the keeper of the pearl be doing out so late? Cove asked. Lily lifted her chin in defense. I told you, I'm going for a walk. He ran his eyes down her body. In your stone-bottom slippers. Are you trying to accuse me of something? She bit back. Cove frowned. Where is the pearl now? She became hot inside her cloak. Obviously, I don't carry it around with me. Kai swore from behind Cove. You lost it, didn't you? He accused. No, she replied with defense. From the look on their faces, they were not buying it. She sighed in frustration. I didn't lose it. It was stolen. The brothers looked at each other in raging disbelief. You know, this is all your fault anyway, she yelled. Maybe if the guards were good at their job, the fire fairies wouldn't have been able to sneak in here. Kai shoved towards her. We are not to blame for this, you naive little. Enough, Cove said, pulling him away from her. She's right. What? Kai asked in disbelief. Lily smiled smugly. Cove ran a hand through his dark hair. So you just thought that you would sneak into the volcanic forest and steal it back? Do you have a better idea? She asked, crossing her arms. Cove's eyes flickered over the dark forest and thought, no, but we'll figure out another one along the way. We? Kai smiled wickedly. Yes, we. We are coming with separate stories, but like set in the same world. Oh, thanks, Dave. So, those are my fun little stories that I've started. But obviously, that's not like the main series that I'm writing. That was just like kind of for shits and giggles. But they actually kind of turned it out fun, so I really would like to write. But yeah, so it could actually be really fun. What do you guys think? Like this. I literally have like 2% left. Who knows? I wonder if anybody found the account. maybe I'll revamp it. I'll bring it back to life. Thanks, Josh. I'll work on it. I really would love to, like, because my main series is gonna take me so long